Hey guys, Rhonda Dracoulis here with RK3 Designs, and I am super excited to show you guys a new way to do a cool looking granite. So I hope you enjoy it. What we're gonna do today, I'm going to give you two different color palettes. I'm gonna do this technique with some gray tones, and I'm gonna do it with some more earthy, soft tones. So you're gonna get two finishes in one today. Okay, so we've mixed up 42 ounces of Art Coat. The reason we're doing Art Coat is because it's gonna be a white finish. The Art Coat's gonna give you more UV protection. Same characteristics, same open time, same hardness, scratch resistance, heat resistance, everything the same. You just have a little bit more of that UV protection. All right, so when you're mixing up your product, after you use your drill, if you'll do this, scrape your edges of your bucket really well, and then hand mix it just a little bit more. And that's gonna ensure that all that product on your edges are mixed in completely to the epoxy. That way, when you pour it out on the table or on your project, you're not gonna get sticky spots. Also, a good hint of if you're mixing your epoxy well enough is after you pour all your epoxy out, turn your bucket upside down, leave it a couple of days, and then that ought to just pull out completely clear. Your bucket should be just like when you started brand new. If you have sticky spots around the edge of your bucket, what's happening is you're not mixing all of your material thoroughly. All right, so this is a bucket that's been left for a couple of days. You can see everything's hardened up. So you're just gonna pop it out, and your bucket comes out completely clean. Now, if I had sticky spots on the side, I would know that I had not mixed this bucket of epoxy up well enough. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with similar backgrounds. The only thing I'm gonna do different is on this side of the board, I'm gonna add a little bit of pearl metallic. On this side of the board, we're just gonna use white metallic and diamond dust. So we'll have white metallic, diamond dust, and pearl. On this side, we'll have white metallic and diamond dust. All right, so I've mixed up 42 ounces of the Stone Coat Countertop Epoxy, and we're just gonna kind of split it out. We're starting our substrate is MDF, and I've coated it with 2 coats of the Stone Coat Countertop white undercoating. Now this could also take the place of your bare paint and primer. If you want to use a latex paint, that's fine. If you use a latex paint to put your primer down or your color, your base color down, make sure you let that latex paint dry and off gas at least 24 hours. If you use the undercoating, you only have to wait about 4 hours. Okay, so we're gonna start by laying down our colors of the epoxy. We're gonna start off with white tinted epoxy. I just tinted it with the Stone Coat Countertop Alumilite white opaque dye. I tinted it pretty opaque. You can't see through your stick. You can't see the grains. So you want it to be pretty opaque. And then I'm gonna come in with the white metallic, and I'm gonna say my halfway point's about right here. Even though we're using white on both sides, I went ahead and put it in 2 different cups. Now I'm gonna come in with pearl on this side. And that pearl is just gonna give us a hint of those earth tone shades. And then we'll put diamond dust over the entire piece. Now you can come in here with a silver, would be really pretty to add. If you're doing silver tones or gray tones, a silver would be really pretty color to add. Okay, so I have everything laid out. I'm gonna torch it just a little bit to help it be a little more fluid and help it spread out a little easier. I'm gonna take the Bondo spreader and just meld everything together, being very careful not to over mix my product. I don't want to end up with just one product on the surface, one color. I want to definitely have some separation. The diamond dust and the white metallic next to that opaque white looks amazing. I've actually done finishes, complete finishes, where this is actually all I do, is this technique right here, and then I'm done. Looks stunning in a bathroom or a very crisp kitchen. It's beautiful. All right, I'll come back and address my edges here in just a minute. Go ahead and hit it with my torch. Now we'll do the same thing over here. That pearl really does give a hint of a color, and it's gorgeous. You don't want to overdo it with your pearl. Now I'm not pushing hard with my Bondo spreader. If you'll notice, I'm just using it with these two fingers right here, and I'm just kind of letting that Bondo spreader glide across the surface. I'm not trying to move a lot of that product. I'm just kind of skip trialing it over the surface, pulling it out to my edges. Again, being very conscious of not over mixing my colors. I like to use my hands on my edges because I can bring that color over, rub them really good, and bring that epoxy so it'll roll down over and under the edge. Also, I'm making sure that all my surface tension is addressed, that I don't have any of the board showing. Now this is all going to be background. The micas are going to start moving, the epoxy is going to continue to move, and all of this is going to be super soft. So don't fall in love with it too much just yet. I like to take my hand and really pull that epoxy over and then run my hand underneath the edge to help that epoxy roll all the way under so it doesn't form a drip or a ledge right there on the edge right here. We round over all of our sample boards and our countertops with a 1/4 inch round over bit. That way we have no 90-degree angles and the epoxy doesn't get any surface tension, and it'll flow over really nicely. Okay guys, when you torch your surface, you want to come about 1.5 to 2 inches away from your surface, and you want to get a nice even speed across your board, and you want to be very conscious not to stop in one spot for too long or be too close. You'll scorch your surface. Stone Coat Countertop is a 0 VOC product unless you burn it. If you burn it, that's the only time you're going to actually smell anything. So very quickly run over your top, pop all your bubbles, and then you'll be good to go. So either side of this sample board could be a finish all on its own. The pearl adds just a little bit of those undertone, earthy tones. The white is super classy. I love it. I do a lot of finishes where I stop right here. But we're gonna go to the next step. So we're gonna give it about 30 minutes to set, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. We've let the epoxy sit for actually an hour. And the reason we did that is not so much time needs to be an exact hour, it's we're trying to get our epoxy at a certain stage. And this is what we want. We can test our drips. So when we come under here, we want our drips to be very stringy. And you want to notice that your epoxy is no longer freely dripping off of your surface really quickly. So the reason we want to be at the stage that we're at now, which is where our epoxy is really starting to gel and set, is the next step that we're going to do. We don't want it to really move a lot. We want it to kind of hold the pattern that we're going to put down. Now we are going to still get movement. The epoxy is going to move for the next several hours, and we're going to kind of embrace that movement, but now it's just going to be a lot slower. All right, so what we're going to do, start off with a plastic bag. These are just any shopping type bag. You don't want to use plastic that's any thicker than this, because what that's going to do, it's going to be too harsh on the surface and it's going to take too much of your product off. If you get any thinner than this, the plastic's actually going to stick and it's going to cause a mess. So these are really good weight of plastic to use. If you have any writing on your plastic, make sure you turn it inside out. If you don't, that ink will transfer onto your project. All right, so we're going to take our bag. And what I want to do is kind of take my finger and push it in and then kind of grip it with my other finger. So we kind of make a rose, all right? Kind of, sort of, use your imagination. All right, but what we don't want is that to be a flat surface like this. We want it to have character. All right, so we're gonna start off with our first color is going to be nutmeg. And this is a Rust-Oleum color, and it is a satin. We've got a nice good texture. And we're gonna just randomly put down some colors. Then I'm gonna grab my ivory. We're gonna do the same thing. And then let's go for a darker color. I'm gonna come in here with a dark walnut. So we're just layering these colors onto the bag. Now, when we come and touch the surface, we're just barely gonna touch. All right, and I like these little drips because that's gonna make it look a lot more realistic. Our pearl background is just gonna be a really soft touch to this type of granite. Again, I'm gonna load it up. Now you wanna be sure to have plenty of paint on your bag. As you set it down, twist around, and you can see how it's really making its own little design. All right, so you can also add in other colors as well. I'm gonna come in here with a leather brown. It's a little bit darker brown. And then I'm gonna come in back with the sand. Let's see, let's do nutmeg. You don't wanna tap too many times without adding more color to your bag. Now I'm gonna come in with a hammered paint. This is gonna be hammered brown, hammered brown. And come back with nutmeg. Now I'm not even paying attention to what color. I'm literally just grabbing some colors. Now you can definitely change your bag as your bag starts to pick up a lot of product, or you can just hold your bag a little bit tighter and you'll get a little bit different type of pattern on your surface. All right, I'm gonna change bags. This one's getting pretty saturated. I'm actually gonna come in here with some white as well. Even though we have a white background, the white on top is gonna give us a little bit of depth. What I really like about this technique is you get a little cluster of color, and we know it's still gonna keep moving, so there's gonna be a lot of really cool melding going along with it. If you wanna come in with just one color, you can do that too. If you want just one area of your stone or your piece to look like natural stone, you can come in with just one color. Remember, you keep readjusting that bag so that you have it nice and tight. You can do this as a really tight pattern or a really loose pattern. All right, that's about our halfway point. I can look and see that I'm a little darker over here, so I'm gonna kind of bring some of that dark walnut over onto this side. But a lot of natural stone will actually have different pockets of different colors. So as I step back, my eye kind of goes to a blank space. So I want to add a little bit of color right here. Come over and get my edges. Guys, I really wish you could see the depth that this finish gives. As the epoxy starts to move and kind of fight and meld with the spray paint, you're getting some really unbelievable designs. I really, really like this. Okay, so now we're gonna do the gray tone side. I'm gonna come in with dark gray, and I'll have suede gray, stone, and I'm gonna bring in a metallic on this one too. It's called aluminum. And we might get crazy, we might put a little color in here. We're gonna see how it goes. All right, so we'll start off layering our colors the same way. And you, again, guys, you could do this with any color palette and get a really cool look. Now, I just splattered some of the paint on here when I was spraying, but I'm gonna incorporate that into the look. I really like that. This is a granite. Remember, granites are just so unpredictable. They've got so many layers and layers and layers of color. I'm gonna add a little bit of this aluminum. Ooh, wow. I really, really, really like that dark gray in there. And like I said, sometimes you can come back in with just one color and bring in some light tones. You don't always have to layer your paint. However, layering really gives it that 3D look. Now, if you wanted your piece to really move a lot more and not stay so chunky, then you would not have to wait a whole hour before you did this. You could wait probably 30 minutes and your paint on the top is gonna move a lot more. Be more of like almost like a marble instead of a true granite. When you change bags, you'll get a really crisp pattern. More detailed because your bag is still pretty stiff. Also, the last paint that you spray is going to be the most predominant color in when you dip it onto the table. Now, it's really important that you don't dip too many times or at all in one area, that you're constantly moving the bag. If you get an area with too much paint, it's gonna get really muddy really quickly and go straight down and straight up. I tell you guys all the time, you cannot judge this right away. You have to let the epoxy and the spray paints do their thing. They have to meld and move and kind of create a finish and a design before you can decide kind of which direction you want to go. But I do know I want to add a little bit of accent color. So we're going to come in here with my favorite color, obviously, turquoise. And I'm going to start off with a little bit of gray. And this is the smoke gray. And then I'm going to add just a touch of light turquoise. And I'm going to just barely put it in there ever so often. I don't want this to be a color that's going to take over. I want it to be very soft. That's why I'm putting another color down first and then just putting a little bit of that turquoise. And I'm going to add a little lagoon as well. Oh, that's pretty. Just a little bit, just a hint. Now again, you could go as bold as you want with this, or you can just keep it as just an accent color. I'm going to come into the front. You don't want it to make it look like polka dots. So you want to be very random, very organic with where you put these colors. All right, I think that's it. I'm not going to add, well, maybe one more right there. All right, now I'm done. I'm going to leave it alone with the turquoise. All right, so I really like that. And look how the bag, as I bring the bag up, it causes these little strings of epoxy kind of was stuck on the bag, and how those strings kind of laid down and made really cool little veins. So now comes the fun part. Granites are layer upon layer upon layer, and that's what makes granite look really cool, because there's so much depth. So you can stop at any one of the stages that we're doing. You could stop right here. You could spritz it with alcohol to get more of a fractured look. There's so many things that you could do right now. I'm gonna go ahead and just take you each step, but you guys need to realize you could stop at any step and it would be a complete finish. So let's get started. I'm gonna start off with just a little popsicle stick, and I'm gonna create some fracture lines. And I think I'm gonna create them with just some black. That way we can go across the whole thing with the same color. But I'm gonna start over here on the lighter color, the gray, and then I'll switch sticks when we get over here so I don't contaminate the sides. All right, so to create the little fracture lines, we're just using a popsicle stick. And I'm gonna put some paint down on the table, pretty thick, because I wanna be able to take that stick and load it up with some paint. And then we're just gonna chop it in randomly. Now I know y'all gonna think this looks crazy at first, but as these veins start to move, they really look cool. And you don't have to do it over the entire piece. You can do it with a different color. You can come in here with a dark gray. Let me add some dark gray here. Don't judge it yet. If you wanted to do a vein across, you could do that as well. But what you don't want to do is go in any patterned look so it would not look natural. Now, let me show you another thing that's kind of cool. See how these strings, watch when I pull the stick up. See how there's little strings? Oh, that one didn't do it. Well, there he is. Those little strings, as you move that stick, are gonna cause those really cool little fracture lines. And you see how some of the lines are really light and some of them are dark. All right, so now I'm gonna hit with some alcohol. The effect that alcohol makes on the surface is gorgeous. All right, so I've got plain isopropyl alcohol, and I'm just gonna get it to where it makes not a really fine mist. And I'm gonna hit my surface. Now, if you wait too late to do this, you're not gonna get any movement from your spray paint. You're not gonna get the fracturing. But I wanted just a little fracturing. I don't want a lot. What you wanna do is make sure that you don't put too much alcohol on your surface. If you do, you're gonna cause some really blurred effects. All right, so let's go down here, do the same thing. All right, so I'm gonna take black as well, and then I'm also gonna bring in some dark walnut. Same thing. Now this side, let's just do a little less on this side, just so you guys can see. You don't have to do it over the entire thing. Now I'm kind of pushing down a little bit hard on this and twisting it, because I want those strings to play a part of the finish on this side. And like I said, this is gonna be totally your choice on how much you do. This is plain isopropyl alcohol again on the surface. All right, cool. Now, if you have the ability to tilt, this would be a really kind of a cool time to tilt as well. If you don't, you can just use your torch. Now you want to make sure before you torch that all of your isopropyl alcohol has evaporated. All right, so we're gonna let this move, continue to settle out, create some really cool effects, but we're gonna go one more step, maybe two, but for sure one. We're gonna add a little bit of the stone texture spray to give it that background look of granite. And I'm gonna be very, very conservative with this. I don't want a lot of it. This is the brown, so we're just gonna kind of stay on this side. And then we'll decide if we wanna do it to the grayer side. All right, so the granite spray or the textured spray comes out looking almost like little pieces of a stone. So I just wanna come do a little bit of it. To kind of give it that background in my edges. This is a really good way to get your edges to get some color and some good character on those edges. All right, so that texture spray that we just used was actually called Mineral Brown. It's a Rust-Oleum product. Now there's a bleached stone. We're gonna hit that a little bit. It's not really a white, it's kind of a creamy color. Just a little bit of that. All right. And then I have some silver. Actually, it's just called Silvered Textured Metallic. I'm gonna put a little bit of that on the silver side. This is mostly just kind of a metallic. Oh yeah, that's pretty. And you only see it if you just kind of let the light hit it just right. I just keep digging out really cool effects for this. This is called Granite Effects. It's by Montana. It's gonna be the same thing as the Rust-Oleum. It's just a different brand. This is a, what's it say? Light gray. And it's got it's got little flecks of black in it. So just give one more layer of look at that. One more layer of something that looks really natural. Okay guys, I told you we're gonna keep building and building and building, and now we're gonna have some fun with some silly string. All right, so this is a product called Montana Marble Effects, or silly strings, what we like to call it. And it's just gonna give another way to get some veins in there, or some little tiny little surface cracks it would look like. So now this, you may not want to do this on yours, but I'm gonna sacrifice, guys, and show you this. All right, so this is, let's start with black, all right? Now, the way to do this, you've gotta make sure you're really high up in the air. You don't wanna come real low because it's gonna make a really tight pattern. So you wanna kind of practice on the table and then come up really high and very softly, just kind of squeeze and let it float down. The faster you move your arm across the surface, the better. All right, you can go crazy with this. You don't want to go too crazy because you can get too much. But a little bit adds some really fun movement. Look at that. It's really fine. Now you could decide if you wanted to not put your straight line veins or fractures, I guess you would call it, fault fractures. I'm not even sure what that would be called in the real world. And just come back with your Montana marble. All right, I'm gonna add some silver and I'm gonna add some white also. Now I'm only gonna add the silver to the gray side. I'm just gonna add a little bit. All right, that looks cool. Let's add some of the white. And white I'm gonna add over everything. I really like this white over here on the earth tone side. Boy, really gives it some pretty depth. So I'm thinking probably if I did this finish and I used the earth tones, I probably wouldn't come back in with the black lines. I think I would actually just come back in with the Montana marble spray. Now I do like the straight fractured lines in the gray area, on the gray side. I do like that. I'm not crazy about them on the earth tone side. Alrighty. Okay guys, I have been playing with this epoxy since 12 o'clock and it is 2:30 now. So you can see you have quite a bit of time to create some fun finishes. So this piece is done. We're gonna let it sit overnight. We'll come back, we'll scuff sand it very lightly, and we'll pour a clear flood coat. After that, we'll let it sit for 24 hours, and then we'll come back and put a matte finish. A matte finish really makes a granite look authentic as opposed to keeping it really high gloss. This is definitely a finish that can be done very quickly if you just wanted to add a few elements, or you could do like I just did and go nuts and have fun. I just wanted to show you guys what all your options would be. You may not want to use all of the products that I used. You may want to pick and choose what you use. Let me know in the comments below. What would you do? Where would you stop? Would you add the black spray paint with the popsicle stick? Would you add the Montana marble? What highlight colors would you add in your piece? All right guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It was fun to create two finishes on the same board and show you guys a new fun technique to do granite. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Hit our subscribe button. We're trying to get our numbers up. Share this video. The more you guys share, the faster that we're gonna grow. All right guys, all of these products that we used are available on our website, RK3designs.com. The spray paints can be bought at any of your big box stores. So check us out. All right guys, until next time, you know what to do. Don't be scared, move forward, and be creative.